know, we always start, because we have got an international audience. We always like to start from where you were sort of born and raised.
Well, I mean, I'm born and raised straight out of Jersey, man. Illtown, East Orange, New Jersey.
Okay.
You know, that's where I was born and raised. And well, to be exact, I was actually born in Newark, New Jersey, but I represent and I grew up, you know, in Illtown, East Orange, New Jersey, which is, you know, the neighbor of Newark. So, you know, I moved into East Orange as a very young kid, like maybe like two or 3 years old. So, you know, I represent East Orange, New Jersey.
You know, we because we'll get to Naughty by Nature later, but we've always heard you say, we always hear the Ill Town, and we actually I didn't actually think it was a place. I thought it was more like a like Wu-Tang. Ill Town is like your little collection, but actually,
Nah,
so it's okay, okay.
it's actually a place. Yep, that's Illtown. That's East Orange. East Orange is AKA also known as Illtown.
Wow, my goodness.
Yep.
On our show, we've interviewed a lot of people. Blackstreet, Chauncey and Eric Williams from New Jersey, Nitty Green from Riff, New Jersey. Um, Today, it surprises how many people have come out of New Jersey from the R&B side. Growing up, who was your inspiration musically?
You got to throw it back to, you know, the old school soul artists. I mean, just from Sam Cooke to Otis Redding to Marvin Gaye, obviously Jackson 5 to, you know, Betty Wright to all of them, Shaka Khan, Anita Baker, like any and everything, all soul. I mean, growing up, my parents played it, especially, you know, my father, you know, played a lot of old school soul music. And I just grew up on that. You know, me and my whole family, actually. We just all grew up listening to that, you know, that kind of music.
As a kid, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do? I mean, you've got the music influence at the back, but what were you thinking about career-wise?
Nah. Yeah, nah, as a kid, I had no idea, you know, just trying to figure it out. I just, like I said, I was introduced to music from my father, and just you know, just as a kid, you have no choice when you're riding in cars or you're around, you know, you listen to what they're playing. You
Yeah.
know, the same as now, you know. Well, it's actually changed now. You know, my kids or whatever, the kids nowadays, they get in and they just automatically just plug up their
Yeah,
phone
it's true.
or Bluetooth their phone, and then you listening to what they want to hear. But you know, back in the days, you didn't have those capabilities, so it was an 8 track or
Yeah.
radio or the radio station, and you listen to whatever, you know, your parents wanted to play. So that was it, you know, listening to what they wanted to play, and that's what they wanted to play, you know, that dope soul music.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we can get an understanding of the influence on the production has from the soul that you were listening to. But what about when you were in school, high school and stuff? I guess your friends weren't listening to, or maybe they were listening to the same, or were they listening to hip hop?
Well, I mean, some of them was and some of them wasn't, you know. When I came in, my man Hot Money, like Hakeem Green from Channel Live,
Mm.
he actually told me, and I forgot about it anyway. I mean, and he actually told me, he said that I was the one that introduced him to BDP, to Boogie Down Productions. And he went
Wow,
on and ended up making, you know, Spark Madism with KRS-One. But he was
wow.
like, hey, I don't even know if you even remember, you know, I came into the class one day and you were sitting there with the first Boogie Down Productions album. And I was looking at you like, what is that? Yeah. So yeah, man, like I got an older brother. So my older brother and them was, you know, into the culture, into the hip hop culture, dressing b-boy and doing all of that stuff. So I used to
Yeah.
be looking at them like that. They kind of look cool, you
Okay.
know. So once I saw the movie Wild Style, I kind of got more of a grasp on, okay, hip hop and the culture of hip hop. And then I said, oh, dang, that's dope. That's what I want to be. You know, I want to be a DJ.
Wow.
So that's when I started getting into, yeah, I started getting into more of that, and started trying to be a DJ and started like really embed myself into the culture. But before that, I was already listening to, the radio, listening to hip hop, and basically just figuring it out and just loving the culture of it, trying to be a graffiti artist at the time, trying to be, I mean, there was a time I thought I could rhyme. There was a time I thought I could break dance, and I think that's everybody, coming up at that time.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that they, that grew up and just was embedded in the culture, kind of figured that how, like trying to figure out how they can fit within the culture because that's what it was at the time.
Because it's interesting you said you thought about being a DJ as opposed to the front person. Why specifically the DJ instead of being the front?
I mean, I already love music. I already knew
Okay.
that, taking, these rides and just listening to music. I already knew I had a love for music. I felt I had a, kind of a connection and an insight to the music already from listening to it so much.
Okay.
So when I saw that, it just mesmerized me. I was just like, wow, he's cutting it up, he's DJing, and this and that. And I was just like, okay, that's what they're doing. That's how they do it. That's dope to me. Let me get into that.
Who were your early influences as from the DJ point then?
Well, it's one specific I'm talking about from the movie Wild Style was Grandmaster Flash.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a scene in Wild Style when he's I think he's in the kitchen. Yeah, he's in the kitchen and he has a turntable set up and he's DJing all. And I saw that scene and I just was like, wow, that's dope. That's what I want to do. And obviously there was other musical like influences around our way. There was this group called Super Six Lovers around the way. That was a local group. There was another group that was out of Jersey City called Sweet Slick and Sly. I used to listen to WHBI radio. I used to listen to Mr. Magic. I used to listen to Special K and Teddy Ted from the Awesome Two. Latin Rascals. It was a lot of different things that I listened to, and radio stations like Pirate Radio and a bunch of different stuff going on at the time. And they used to always just play this hip hop stuff, and it's now classics that you try to find, but they just play these battles and all these different things of this stuff that wasn't on wax, but it was only caught live in a club. And they used to play that, and you'll be lucky to catch it on on your tape deck. So I was one of the ones up late at night trying to catch it on my tape deck.
So New York was heavily influenced the origin of hip hop. How was it in Jersey? Was it seen as big, or was it pretty much just piggybacking off what's happening in New York?
No, it was just as big. We always laugh and joke about it. Is that New York? New York basically feels like they're the creators of hip hop, and everybody is piggybacking off of them. So with us being right next to them, they definitely looked at us as a stepchild too, as well. So they thought like, hey, actually, I had my family's really, from New York, to be honest, the Jamaica, Queens. Okay. And and my cousin actually asked my brother one time, my older brother, and I have an older cousin that was in Queens, and he was like, yo, y'all get Kiss and BLS out there? And that's the two main stations in New York. And we like, what you mean? Of course we do. Like, dude, we only live like 20, 30 minutes from here. Like, why wouldn't we get it? So that just shows you, just like, I mean, I don't think that's more of an attitude. I think it's more or less like, especially at a certain time, when you don't go out of state, when you don't go out of your own area, you just don't really know too much about other places. And that's how it was even with, with me personally. Before I got to tour and to travel the world or even go to other states to do tours, I had no idea what was going on in other states. Yeah. So that's kind of I guess the idea of the New York versus New Jersey thing. But, from a culture standpoint, I guess you could kind of say that we fed off of them, but then again, we didn't. We had our own hip hop, going in New Jersey. I mean, look at Sugar Hill Records. Sugar Hill Records came out of New Jersey as well.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Well, they're originally from Harlem. Okay. But, they moved over to Jersey, and their whole setup, when they came out with Sugar Hill and all that setup was all out of Jersey. That was out of Inglewood, New Jersey. Okay. So the first, When Rappers Delight came out, that came out of Jersey. So it was
Wow.
definitely yeah.
But so by this time then, so have you sort of put aside the sort of soul music and all into hip hop? How did your folks react?
What, to me getting into music?
Well, no, yeah, the fact that you're no longer listening to Sam Cooke with them, now you're listening to Grandmaster Flash and Houdini.
They didn't care. Because I didn't stop listening to soul music with them.
Okay.
Because I mean I loved it already. So, and I found it relevant as well.
Yeah.
So I knew the two had something to do with each other. I've always knew that. So I never stopped listening to what they were listening to.
Yeah. Did you then ever think about doing it full time, or was it just the being a DJ was like nice stuff on the weekend, but I'm gonna have to find a job?
No. Once I really got into it, I went hard. I went hard.
Wow.
And I just knew I just focused. I had other stuff I was doing, running the streets and doing whatever, but my main focus was hip hop, and it was to do music. That was the main thing, especially after, me, Vin, and Treach formed Naughty by Nature. Well, started off as New Style, and that was we formed that when I was in the 12th grade in
12th
high
grade.
school. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we formed that in high school at my senior talent show. So once we formed that, like I knew, and I was 17 years old at that time. So I knew from 17 years old that that's what the plan was to be, was just figuring out how and just getting better as a group, and us individually making everything tight and getting it all together. But we knew that that's what we were trying to do from
So,
that point on.
so you said there was a talent show. Did you just see Trent and Vinny and say, guys, let's form a group, or how did that come about?
Well, like I said, that formed when I was a senior in high school. They were juniors in high school.
Okay.
So in the high school, it's East Orange High School, where we're all from, because we're all from East Orange, New Jersey, even in Treach. So if there's the senior talent show, I was already DJing, and I was going to be in the senior talent show as a DJ myself. But then I lived on 18th Street in East Orange. Vin lived on 15th Street, 3 blocks from me. So I always knew Vin, even growing up, even before we got to high school. I didn't meet Treach until me and Vin didn't meet Treach until we actually got to high school.
Okay.
But Vin used to break dance around the way. I knew he was a break dancer. I knew him. We used to play football together, all that stuff. We went to school together, elementary, all of them, those grades,
Wow.
all the grades growing up. We all went, yeah, me and him, because like I said, we 3 blocks away from each other. Treach lived a little bit further, more blocks away. So his school,
School district. Okay.
Yeah, when you get to high school, everybody go to the same high school, but the elementary schools and the middle schools are different. It's by your area, so you go to school closest to your area where you live at. So like I said, me and Vin being 3 blocks away, we went to the same elementary and middle schools together. And then, so with that being said, I knew Vin was a beatbox. He did the beatbox, and I knew he was a break dancer because he used to break dance with a guy that lived directly across the street from me named Ski. So as sometimes, like when they would be out there practicing break dance, and they had linoleum out on the sidewalk, I would be up on my son's porch practicing DJing. So I would basically be supplying the music for them.
Okay.
So I'm playing the music and I'm running break beats, and they're break dancing really to my music. So when it came time for me to be in the talent show, I asked Vin, yo, do you want to beatbox? And I'll scratch. I want to do more than just play some music. I want to do like a show, and he was like, all right, bet. So we started rehearsing and coming up with routines. And then we both felt like it could use an MC. So I was just like, I don't have nobody. He said, you know what? I have this guy in my health class named Tiny. Yeah, his name named Tiny, who later became Tiny T, who later became Double T, and who later became Double T Treachery, and now known as Treach. But yeah, Tiny. So Tiny was in his health class. He introduced me to Treach, And then Treach started coming over. We started putting together the routine for the talent show. We did the talent show, didn't have a name. It was, like I said, it was just supposed to be me, myself DJing. So we didn't have a name. I just came out there with them and we did it. And I scratched in, "It's the New Style" from the Beastie Boys. And then the talent show went over so well. Everybody was like, "Yo, y'all were dope. Y'all stole the show. Da, 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 da. That was dope what y'all did." So from there, we just started going under the name The New Style, and we just started doing talent shows around the way and went in a bunch of talent shows and started going into the studio from there. And said, "Hey, you know, we went in these talent shows. Let's just start. What's the next thing? What's the evolution to this? What's the next thing? The next thing is to go in the studio and let's just like really take it serious and start making music and try to get a deal." So we started going in the studios and developing it. And here we came.
Yeah. Now you talk about the studio, and I guess for some of us, I think now it's different. You can set up a laptop and make music. But how do high school or 18-year-olds go into a recording studio to make music? I mean, is it free? Do you know it, or do you have to pay?
No, it's not free. You got to pay. You got to
Okay.
pay. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's about investing in your future. Yeah. So, that's what we did. It's not like we went to the studio every day.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was once in a while. We put some stuff together, get the ideas together, and it's be like, "Hey, coming up in 2 weeks, we got a studio session for 3 hours. Let's get as much as we can in the 3 hours."
Wow.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it started off like that, and we were going there, didn't really know what we were doing. Just going there, I would go in there. That was the early days of me attempting to try to produce as well. Just have ideas of what we would do at our shows and break beats that I would run and the ideas I would use at our show, and then we try to turn it around, take the same concept and the approach of the shows from a lyrical and party aspect, and at the same time, even from the musical aspect, go in there with those records and loop those records, have the engineer help us out and say, "Hey, okay, loop this up, loop this part up, let me add scratch to that, let me do this, let me do that," until I really started advancing as a producer and got my own drum machine and the equipment and was able to start doing it myself.
Okay. And so those early days, you guys doing your show, what are family and friends thinking about the plans and what you guys were doing?
I mean, they didn't know. They just was like, "Hey, well, this is what y'all trying to do." They supported us, but they're just like, at the same time, you guys, you got to work, you got to do something.
Yeah.
You can't just sit around here thinking that you're not going to do nothing. What are you going to do? Are you going to college? We tried to go to college. We tried to do any and everything to stay out of trouble and continue to, pursue the dream and at least try to keep our parents off our back. Keep odd jobs, just do different things here and there just to keep, our parents off our back while we worked on the music. And most importantly, try to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us who aren't in America, we see whether it's New Jack City or any of this, and we see those who are focused on the dream. But for yourself, then, were there anyone that you were looking at that were out and established and thought, "Wow, we could be like them, or we should mirror our style like them"? Or what was it like? Did you try and separate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, number one, Run DMC. Our whole thing, you look at it, it's 2 MCs and 1 DJ, same thing with Run DMC. So we've always looked at Run DMC as the blueprint.
Okay.
From day one. I mean, but we study people's shows, live shows. Like we would go and see BDP perform all the time. Was a big fan, and still is a big fan of KRS-One and BDP. Love the way that, his stage presence and all that. Like, we love that. Public Enemy was another one.
Okay.
Followed them around, looked at them, and it's ironic that that was our first tour we ended up doing, was with Public Enemy. So, Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie, was a big influence on us, with Cool, especially, because Biz would spend a lot of time in Jersey because Cool V's actually from Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, so and this we actually met them, and they were actually one of the first champions of us as New Style. Cool V, and Biz was one of the celebrity judges a couple of times that they pulled in because we were winning talent shows so much because they used to let the crowd judge, and then they
Yeah.
started feeling like, yeah, other people started feeling like that we were bringing the crowd in and winning because we had such a following and we would just bring the whole block with us and we would bring our own crowd and just win. So they were just like, we're not gonna let the crowd judge no more. We're gonna bring in judges. And Biz and Cool V was a judge on there, one time together. And then Cool V, would DJ the parties, and sometimes V would do it himself, would be one of the judges. So V saw us out there a lot. And he was one of the first champions, and will always tell people all the time, yo, y'all better watch out for this group out of Jersey called New Style. They coming. Like I see them a lot in the underground, and they out there building themselves up. V was definitely so much love to Cool V, definitely.
What were
And
you
rest
guys?
in peace, obviously, the Biz.
Yeah, to Biz. No, definitely. But what were you guys doing differently? That made you stand out? I mean, we know when you guys came out in '93 and stuff, but back in those early days, how different was your style that you were getting the crowd over?
Not too much different. What you
No.
heard when we came out, the energy you heard on Uptown Anthem, the energy you heard on OPP, Hip Hop Ray, all that, that's what we were doing in our shows. And that's why, you have the call and response on our records. That's why you have the crowd participation on elements in our records, because we were doing that in our show
Okay.
from the door. Yep.
Because it's different than how Rum DMC and the others were.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. I
Yeah.
mean, we're from Jersey, so we had our own interpretation of how we wanted to come with it and what we wanted to do. But the blueprint, and just the overall touch of everything was definitely built off of our forefathers. The Cold Crushers of the world. Dougie Fresh. Especially with them being the beatbox. Dougie Fresh, Fat Boys. All of those guys, man. Yeah, like all of
Wow.
those guys. And like I said, Run DMC, I mean, who couldn't have, loved Run DMC?
Now, how did you guys get? Because in my mind, somehow I always associate you guys with Queen Latifah. But how did you guys get your break?
Yeah, that was later. That was later. I mean, as we built up and was doing what we were doing, there was this crew that was on already called Flavor Unit out of
Okay.
New Jersey. Yep, out of New Jersey. So you had the 45 King, who's a dope and always will be, a classic, legendary producer. And on 45 King, that was his crew, the Flavor Unit. And as we were doing our thing, we would run across them here and there, and they would see us as well. But we were just getting our feet wet and building up. And they were on already, but they wasn't fully through at the time. Latifah was through, and Lati was through, at the time. And actually, yeah, and then Chill Rob G was through, from the Flavor Unit, and the rest of the guys were still coming up. But they had their thing already. They already had their crew already.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we were trying to just figure out any way that we can to kick a door in. So we threw a party ourselves, and we invited the Flavor Unit to come over. And they came over, and they actually saw us, and they liked what we did and what we were doing. Like I said, they already knew about us, but they didn't, fully see exactly what it was that we were doing. And at the same time, they didn't know that we were trying to get down with another crew or whatever, because they already had their crew. So once they came over, we told them, yeah, man, if you like what we're doing, we definitely trying to, be a part of a crew and trying to be a part of a family, because we're trying to get our foot in the door, man. So Jahiem, who's the manager of the whole Flavor Unit, he told us, well, it's great timing because right now I'm actually starting a Flavor Unit management. And I want to, you guys can potentially be the first outside of the Flavor Unit crew, artist or group that we take on outside of our original guys.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, cool. And we were just like, all right. And that ended up being like the icing of the cake of us. Once we got into Flavor Unit and got Queen Latifah, you know, who like I said, Queen Latifah was already on, and Jahiem and Queen Latifah are partners in Flavor Unit. That's who, you know, who own Flavor Unit.
Yeah.
So once we got through the door with them, we got the politics behind us, and Jahiem and Latifah was able to, you know, politic us to a deal on Warner Brothers, who ended up on ended us up on Tommy Boy,
yeah,
and being presented to the world by Queen Latifah.
Yeah, I think that's because we always, you know, Queen Latifah was big, and I always remember, you know, that kind of endorsement coming from her, especially. That's yeah. And
yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, big up Latifah, man. You know, the whole Flavor Unit, Apache as well.
Yeah.
You know, rest in peace to Apache. Yeah, all of the whole,
yeah.
Yeah, all of them, man. You know, the whole crew. Lakim Shabazz, Double J, yeah, all of those guys, man. Like, they all showed us love, and they all continue to show us love. And they welcomed us with open arms as well. You know, but we couldn't break the door down. We were trying to do it. We were shopping around. We was trying to figure it out. We were still called the New Style.
Yeah.
We actually, you know, we got polished. We got polished once we got in with Jahiem and Jahiem and Flavor Unit. Yeah, like Jahiem and Flavor Unit and Latifah, you know, the whole crew. Shout out even Latifah's mother, Miss Owens, rest in peace. Like, the whole Flavor Unit crew, they polished us up and taught us, you know, the game, and showed us how we had to walk this walk, man, and it allowed us to get through and come through the right way.
When did you change the name to Naughty by Nature then?
Yeah. Also too, you know what, another one, you know, it's crazy too, man, like with all these times. Shout out Chris Lighty too, rest in peace to him.
Yeah, Chris Lighty from Violator. Yeah.
Lighty was actually with Jahiem at the time too. And Jahiem, when they started going, Jahiem was shopping us, which was his Naughty by.
Oh, you sound.
Somebody tried to call. Yeah, and Chris Lighty was shopping Black Sheep at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So him and Jahiem were sharing office space, and they were working together. They were both shopping, both of us. So we were connected at the hip, you know, even with that from day one. And Jahiem and Chris Lighty pulled up on us on 18th Street one day, and they just said, "Hey, we're taking a lot of meetings and we're doing a lot of things with for you guys, and we're getting interest, and people are, you know, starting to talk, but nobody likes the New Style, the name, the New Style. We got to change that name." Yeah, and right off the back, right there, Treach said, "How about Naughty by Nature?"
What? Did he have it before? Did you?
Yeah, he did. Well, on the New Style, as the New Style, in our original demo, there's a song called Naughty by Nature.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a song called Naughty by Nature. Yeah. So that's where it came from. And he just was like, and we were like, that might be a little too long though. Yeah. And we were standing outside that day, and he just was turning around. There was just a bunch of us outside, standing on the side, walking in the streets, just listening to music. And he was just like, look at him. He's naughty by nature. Look at her. He's naughty by nature. Look at them. They're naughty by nature. Look at all of us. We're all naughty by nature. And it started clicking at that point. We just went, And everybody went home and slept on it and came back and was like, naughty by nature it is.
Wow. And then the whole logo and the whole design, did that come later? You know, because
we got signed to Tommy Boy. Okay. Yeah, once we got signed to Tommy Boy, that came later. And the story of that is that happened over a dinner. It happened over a dinner. Monica Lynch from Tommy Boy was talking to a guy named Mark Weinberg, who actually did the logo. They were sitting at dinner. She was explaining what we were and what the group was and the name. And while she's doing it, he took the napkin at dinner and a crayon and wrote and started drawing Naughty by Nature.
Wow. And
that's why, to this day, if you look at why the Naughty by Nature looks scribbled and rigid, that's actually the little parts of the crayon breaking off while he's drawing it on the napkin. And he still has the original napkin. He still have the original napkin to this day.
My goodness. You know, when you talk about, you say something like that, you think about very creative people just like
Yeah.
that. Wow.
Yeah,
You,
yeah, that's why, like, and if we, like, and now people are gonna go back and look, and if you do, you'll see that Naughty by Nature is rugged and rigid, like
yeah.
the edges of it is rugged, and that's actually, the crayon pieces being broken off while he's drawing it on the napkin, and
My
that's why I
goodness.
looked like that. And the only thing it was short was the bat, and when we saw it, the first all we said was this, because we had our own thing we were doing, and they had a little kid with a bat.
Okay.
So we wanted to keep the bat, the naughty thing. Our all of naughty thing was always this naughty little naughty boy that had a
Oh
bat.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when we saw that logo, we was like, "That's dope. Just add a bat under the bottom of it." And he came and did, and then he put the bat under it, and it was done.
My goodness, that's amazing. The, the other thing is when you started with Flavor, did they teach you about the business? Did they say, "Look, man, this is what happens, points and publishing and all that stuff"? Did you know
Yeah,
about that?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, they taught us everything. I mean, we had no problem with them. None of the, I know a lot of people, the horror stories that they have with managers and lawyers and all
Yeah,
that other
yeah, yeah.
stuff or whatever. We had our ups and downs with the record companies here and there, but overall it was fine. But we never had no quarrels or no issues with Flavor Unit at all. None whatsoever. Everything was clean. And to be honest, we signed a deal with Flavor Unit, our original deal with them from the door, and that thing expired like 3 years after we start. I mean, or two, maybe like 1 or 2 years after it. And we
Wow.
were working from there on a handshake. We didn't even have paperwork with them. That's how good our relationship was.
Now, because I've probably interviewed about 50 R&B artists from the 90s and stuff, and 90% of them have had the opposite experience, apart from those who were signed to Untouchables, and they said Eddie F was very much, here's everything, so you guys know up front. What about Flavor Unit that they didn't try and take advantage of you guys, and but instead wanted you to understand how the business operates?
I mean, it's just, just how they are, the people. I mean, everybody in this business is not shady. Everybody's not, crooks or whatever. So, it's just, we just luck. It was just luck that we came across some people that didn't try to take advantage of us. And that was really it, to be honest. You know, they more or less wanted to teach us how to do it and what to
Wow,
do. You know,
wow. So that's we have to. Yeah, as I said, it's good to be able to see that from that early stage and see, because everyone still celebrates Latifah and the rest of the crew, and you could see why, because that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
exactly. Exactly. So you see it. And I think, to be honest, even with, I think the fact that Latifah's mother Miss Owens was involved as well. I think the company kind of took her mentality and her attitude and they followed off her morals, which at the same time follows, of what you see and what's represented in Queen Latifah, you know. So she was, the mother of it all. So she oversaw everything of what we were in
Wow.
there doing. And she didn't, she wasn't having that.
Yeah. Wow. If you talk about your first album, the production and the direction, how did you guys then decide, how we're going to do production? Do we need outside help? What was that
Mhm.
like?
Um, we just went at it, man. Just was just like, yo, listen, man, we're gonna just go hard. We're gonna try to do it ourselves. Once we got with Flavor Unit, we got, help from Mark the 45 King, Louis Vega, and some more or less the crew. But more than outside of that, really, we kept it internal, because when we actually came in, most of the records were done. The demo OPP was done. That was on the
Wow.
demo. Yeah, a lot of that stuff was done already. We fine-tuned some stuff, but the stuff was done. I mean, and we actually shopped those records through a couple of record companies, including Tommy Boy, that either didn't hear it or turned it down.
Yeah.
But once it came presented in the right package,
Yeah. Yeah. It's the packaging.
it must have, it's all about presentation. It was obviously presented wrong when
Yeah.
we did it ourselves. And once Flavor Unit presented, it was presented right.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of stuff was primarily done, internally ourselves. And we just was like, hey, it ain't broke, so why try to fix it?
Yeah. The was the first single the one off the is it the Juice soundtrack or
No, OPP was our first thing.
okay, okay.
Yeah, Uptown Anthem came later.
Uptown,
They
okay,
our album was out and everything, and then Uptown Anthem came.
okay,
And then we tacked it on to our album when we released our album. But
okay.
yeah, we had put OPP out as our first single. Everything's Gonna Be All Right was our second single.
So when you think about OPP, I mean, what was your thoughts about, so I'm talking about global, because sometimes you talked about, Jersey and New York. I'm talking about global, being the people in across Africa, across Europe are really engaged in the song. What was it like for you? Did you know that it could be a hit, or what was your thoughts when you guys did it and were getting ready to release OPP?
Nah, nah, we had no idea. We know it felt good. Yeah, we knew it felt good. We knew everybody, every time we played it around the way, everybody was just like, yo, that joint right there is so dope. That's dope. That's dope. We knew that. But we had no idea, man. We had no idea. And even when it started playing on the radio, everybody was riding through the block and they were playing it like crazy. They had this video show called Video Jukebox, and that's when people used to order it and pay for the
Yeah,
video.
I
And they
like
would
the
just
box
keep
and stuff.
coming on and keep on, come on, coming on. And we were just sitting there just like, wow, with our jaws dropped. Just like, wow. Like we had no idea, man. Like seriously.
I mean, it's probably one of the biggest crossovers. So when you talk about crossover, it gets to the pop side. You have people who, whites enjoying it because it's like, well, we don't. It's like a nursery rhyme, and we don't know what OPP really means and stuff. As I said, to come off the bat with a massive hit like that, um, was it too, or was it overwhelming, or was it like, yeah, we're ready for this, or what was it? What was it like for you guys as high school kids, friends, and
Definitely not overwhelming. I can tell you that because it's what we were working for. Like I said, we were going hard. So, I mean, it was shocking that it was that big out the gate, but
yeah,
it wasn't overwhelming. We were ready for it. We were definitely ready. We were primed for it. I mean, like I said, we were doing talent shows. So it wasn't like we never been on a stage. It wasn't like we wasn't ready for the limelight and for you to thrust us or push us out there and
okay,
push us on the stage and get booed. No, it wasn't that. We already got booed before we got on. So we knew how to get booed. We knew what to do so we wouldn't get booed again.
yeah,
So once that record came out and was on, it was on. At that point, there was no stopping us from that point.
wow. And what with the record being that big? If you can think back at some of the shows or the place or people you met off the back of that album record that really sort of blew your mind, like, look, I don't know, we're on the Tonight Show, or we're, or
Yeah.
we're performing in Japan. What was it? What we're looking back, what would you say is like the wow moment from that early days, from that record?
The Apollo.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because everybody, wanted to go to Harlem, wanted to go uptown. Everybody, Showtime at the Apollo was on
Yeah,
TV.
Sandman. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but also even beyond that, there was hip hop shows that they would have there. Not Showtime at the Apollo show, just
Okay.
straight concert shows that they would have there. And if you were anybody, the cream of the crop, anybody that was hot, you had to do a show at the Apollo, and you
Yeah.
had to come in and rock the house. And like I said, when I mentioned earlier of us going to see BDP and Public Enemy and all of them, that was at the Apollo.
Wow.
So yeah. So we went from going to see shows there, holding up the New Style jacket, and Chuck D saying, "I see you, New Style." We went
Wow.
from that. Yeah, we went from that to finally being on that stage and doing 3 shows in one night,
Wow.
and people hanging off the balcony and off the rafters in there, and it's going crazy.
Wow. Did you touch the Apollo is it the
Yeah, everybody, when you first go there, you do that, Yeah, you got to, because you see that on TV. So the first thing you do when you walk up in there, you look for the log and you're like, "Where's that thing?"
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, how did your family and friends react to OPP number, biggest album song of the year out there? What, I mean, they must have seen the hard work you put in, but that's, as I said, that should have taken everyone by surprise.
I mean, it's definitely overwhelming for them, because at that point now, you got money flowing in, you got you're on TV every day. And I mean, it's just like, it's unheard of, you know, really, to be honest. I mean, it's a crapshoot with all of this stuff. It's like sports. I mean, how many, you know, everybody plays sports,
Yeah,
but who's going to make it to the pros, you
yeah,
know? So when you do have the few or the one of the few, it's like hitting a lottery. So basically, you know, it's natural for your friends and your family and people to be it to be overwhelming to them, and at the same time, you know, to be a joy for them as well, you know. And people, like especially your immediate family members or people you went to school with or grew up with, the first, you know, they're just as happy, you know, for you to say, hey, you know what, I know him, I went to school with him, that's my
yeah,
guy. I mean, I was
yeah,
in down, I was in, me and him used to be in school all the time, that's my boy. Oh, I grew up right next door to him,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So, and I mean, at the end of the day, and we know that, and we represent that as well. Though we represent for all of those people that cheered us on, that championed us on. You know, that's what we represent, and we represent them as well.
How did the initial big success, how did it change the three of your relationship? Because you've gone from hustling to get a deal and get your music out there to being, you know, one of the biggest acts, you know, in those early in 93, 94, and fame and people wanting pieces of you and everything. Personally, how did it just affect how you guys were with all the fame and popularity over almost overnight?
I mean, obviously, you know, like it changes slightly, man, because there's different ways you got to move around. You know, you can't do the exact same things you wanted to do before. You can't stand on the same corners you were standing on before. You know, you have a business you got to run. So your mind state, you know, changes. Or obviously, as the years go by, you're getting older. You start having kids. You start having families. So things differ. You know, then you know, you're no longer that 17-year-old kid that's in high school. You know, now you're 23 or 24 years old with a kid or something. So stuff changes, and your mind state changes. You know, and then you also have other people, you know, that's around, and everybody's in this ear or in that ear, and everybody's in different people's ear. So different things are being said and different stuff, and people are pulling you over here to do that, and
Yeah.
pulling you to do this, and pulling you to do that. So the dynamics of different things start changing, and you have to really just try to fight through it, or really, you know, ignore the noise, or fight through the noise and really understand what it is that you're trying to do.
But how did but so did you guys recognize that as, you know, friends from from young, to
Yeah.
say, look, let's just make sure we're one for all and all for one, not get split by this success.
You have to deal with it. You know, like I said, I mean, everybody, when there's a group, there's different personalities, there's different everything, and you go through ups and downs. You have challenges. We're all guys, you know, and that's why you have it, you know, where you have groups that break up.
Yeah,
You know, you have issues, you know, and certain things that go on within groups. I mean, that's just how it is.
yeah. Did How much control did you have on the first album with what singles were released after OPP?
I mean, we had a lot of control. You know, we would talk. We had, like I said, we had a pretty cool relationship with Tommy Boy. We had a very good relationship, obviously, with Flavor Unit. So us collectively, along with Flavor Unit, especially on the first, actually on all our albums, we always kind of knew how and what we wanted to do. And Tommy Boy was pretty cool with it. You know, they were pretty
Yeah,
cool with it. They knew from the gate. They came to us, but we kind of knew what they would come with, though. But they came to us with OPP first and said, "Hey, we got to put this record out first." You know, but we knew that's what they wanted to do. And
yeah,
then from there on, you know, we kind of just agreed on everything across the board, just collectively. Everybody saying, okay, so what do you think? Well, let's do. You guys think of this record? Yeah, we like that record. Okay, let's go with that one. What do you guys think? Yeah, yeah, we like that too. Okay, so it was basically like that.
yeah. Now
It wasn't no big fight and a lot of times and stuff.
it is amazing that the what was it like working with Run DMC after idolizing them for such a long time, to actually get to do some work as a producer with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it's a bucket list thing, obviously, man, that, you know, I can scratch off. But at the same time, man, even, before that, the first time I think we ran into them and did something with them, we did something with them for the Special Olympics, I believe. And when we met them, they were so cool.
Mm. Oh, I think it's frozen. Okay, are you there? Are you? Hello? Oh, what happened? My internet is good. Yeah, it's probably his. Come back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it just it would tell me about Run DMC, then he just froze.
Oh, maybe that was on my part. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he said you
so
saw them at Special Olympics. You met up with him.
yeah, and we met up with them to do the Special Olympics. It was like 80,000 people too in the crowd. It was
Wow.
crazy. So we ended up, and we was somehow we were sharing, I'm not sure if we were sharing dressing rooms or if it was, I don't know how the setup was, but I just know that they were in there with us. And we were like, man, like, dang, this is Run DMC just in here chilling with us and just talking to us. So they just telling us this, and all of the time while Run telling us like, yo, this is how you got to do this, man. This is what I be doing, man. This and that, and we just sitting there with our mouth down, whatever. Like most of the day though, like because we were there really all day doing this, setting up for the show and doing the show.
Yeah.
So Run, all of the time we're sitting there, me and Jay are playing video games.
Oh goodness.
I think it was NBA, I don't know if it was live, one of those NBA basketball games.
Yeah,
but we were sitting there and we were playing the basketball game. And we were just sitting there playing the video game. And it was just so cool, man. Cause when you think of them, you think of them as gods, like bigger than especially for hip hop. And then, to be sitting there, just playing video games with Jay and Run and D just telling us, yo, man, this and that, and talking to us like as if, it's nothing. It was crazy. It was crazy.
And we talked about Latifah and we get that image of Run DMC, the three of them, that they were sort of down to earth, that's the kind of image that we do get. We don't get that sense of snobbery, but it's interesting to actually hear that you guys are just out the back and they're just down with you guys.
Yeah, man. It was really, 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 really cool, man. It was really cool. So like I said, and that actually happened before I got a chance to even work with them. So like I said, it was pretty cool. So we built up, a bond with them, a relationship with them. We ended up even later touring with them. We ended up touring with them later as well. So pretty cool. Pretty cool, man.
So, after the success of the first album, how do you guys get in the mind frame to start to work on the next album and stuff?
It was a little bit of a gap in between the first and the second album because we did so much touring off the first album. So the fact that we did so much touring off the fact that we was touring so much off our first album, it took us a minute. It took us a minute to put together the second album. And Tommy Boy was just on our back, like, hey, I need the record. You guys are taking too long. You got to take advantage of, why are you hot? I mean, like, what are you doing? And at least me, I was thinking, man, like, we got to milk what we got. Like, what do you mean? Like, we on tour. Like, we doing they and you know, it's a record company, so they don't care about you touring. You know, the touring is just is us. We making the money. They like, I need product. I need music. You know, so yeah, they were pushing us, and then you know, we finally got it done.
Yeah.
But that's why you have, OPP, and our first album came out in 91. And then you had Hip Hop Parade come out on 1903. That came out, that album was in 93. So that was 2 years later. And now, but now I'm thinking back, especially the way that music is now, everything's so fast. Thinking back, I'm just like, dang, maybe Tom, I mean, obviously Tommy Boy was right. We should have took advantage of it and did a lot more while we had the iron hot. Like, so, I mean, you live and you learn.
Yeah, but then after you come up with the second up, then how did you then come up with Divine Mills? Because some of us who were more, because as much because I'm more R&B, but Naughty were too big not to ignore. But it's the R&B side that really surprised me, because we would have naturally assumed that you would have done like Eric Sherman, and get hip hop acts to follow you. But
right.
what made you just switch? And
yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, and a lot of people, were shocked by that, because like you said, you would expect, coming from hip hop, you'd be like, okay, if you're gonna do anything, you're gonna probably introduce hip hop artists or groups, but once again, it goes back to how and what I grew up on. I grew up on a lot of the soul music. So that was embedded in me. I knew that, and I always had that in the back of my mind, in the back of my head, and almost basically in my back pocket. I just was like, I'm really a soul dude.
Wow.
Like, yeah, I'm really a soul dude. So, that's really, how I came up. I got into hip hop as I got a little older, but I grew up on soul music. So when it came time and an opportunity was presented to me, and I came across, R&B acts, I just was like, I'm gonna go this route. People gonna think I'm gonna expect me to go this route, but I'm gonna come out left field with this route. It's gonna be hip hop influence, and it's gonna feel like hip hop, the backbone of hip hop, but it's gonna be R&B.
So you said when it was presented to you, because did you always have in your mind, and were you talking to people that I want to start a label, or what was it like then?
No, I mean, I just, when you out there, everybody as an artist, producer, or anything, you always get demos. You always get artists. You always get people come up to you or run up on you like, hey, you know what? I have a group, or I sing. I have a demo. Can you check it out? So I was always getting demos.
Okay.
Always getting stuff sent to me, and I would listen to it.
Wow.
Because at the end of the day, like when even from the early days, the main thing, like I said, we were always self-contained. And that's why when we talked about earlier about it being in-house, that's why most of it was the in-house, because, I always took it, and carried on my back, like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on the production, and we've always, as three members, always talked about, then you focus on the merchandise. I'm going to focus on the production of the music, and Treach, you also focus not only on the lyrics and making songs, but also on television and films. Yeah, we've always done that. So when it came to demos and stuff coming in, I would always listen to the stuff. And what really, really caught my eye, my eye and ear, was the R&B stuff.
Okay. So just before we get to Divine Mills, so as the three of you decided, we've got our group, but we'll have a company. Is that Illtown that we'll use as a way of venturing off other things that we would split in three ways?
Yeah. And it was all our companies, That's why at the beginning it was called Illtown Records, and Illtown Records was all three of us. That was owned by all three of us. Same with the merchandise, owned by all three of us. And then we had a television, Illtown Films, that was all three of us. So we had all of those different companies, and we had branches of stuff that our original plan was to build off and grow off.
Yeah. But then you decided to do Divine Mill outside of Illtown?
Yeah, well, that came later, because if you notice and you look back, I put out Rotten Rascals. That was that was on Illtown Records. But also, if you notice, Zhané, when I did Zhané's first album was on Illtown Records.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Zhané was actually Illtown. That was the beginning. I didn't do Divine Mill until I actually left Naughty by Nature, the group. That's when I created and did Divine Mill. Like I said, Illtown was a Naughty by Nature, entity of all of us together.
Okay.
So when I left Naughty by Nature for the little bit of time that I left, I created Divine Mill, and that's where Divine Mill came into play.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so if we go then that if we go forward back a little bit, then how did you who came up with found Zhané?
Huh?
Who discovered Zhané? Who out of was it one of the demos you listened to?
Yeah, it was one of the demos. Yeah, it was one of the demos that came into Flavor Unit. It actually came into Flavor Unit. Like I said, I listened to everything. It was one of the demos that came into Flavor Unit. And it was actually even after the demo and I listened to it, they would call and say, hey, I want to find out, I want to see if you guys gave it to KG or whatever. They would call Flavor Unit.
Wow.
And Miss Owens. Yep, Miss Owens and a young lady named Lynn Scott was working at Flavor Unit, and they would talk to him all the time, and they would tell him, I'm gonna make sure that Kay listens to your demo. I'm gonna make sure, and I'll follow up. And I would come in this, and I came in there one day, and Miss Owens and Lynn was like, hey Kay, the girls from one of the demos, Zhané, I mean, actually it wasn't even called Zhané at the time. The group, the demo, Gina Renee, they're calling and they want to know that you listen to their stuff. And I said, yeah, I did. And I said, I'm gonna listen to it again, and then and I'll let you know or whatever. So then the next time I came back, they told me again, Kay, they keep calling, have you listened to it? And I said, yeah, let me, and then I just started zoning in and focusing on it. I was like, yo, they're persistent. They coming across how I was when I was starting off. So let me check this out. They must be real serious. So, and as I dug deeper into it, I was like, dang, they are serious. And then I reached back out to them, started bringing them, they were going to Temple down in Pennsylvania. They were at Temple University in Pennsylvania. Yeah, at the time. So I reached out to them. I started bringing them up to Jersey, and we just started working on that demo.
Wow. And now there were two females, and you think back in the 90s, most of the female groups were 3 or 4.
Right.
Were you concerned about the dynamics and how it might look? Because it was only changing faces afterwards.
Right. Nope. I wasn't concerned about it because I knew what I had as far as with them, especially once I met them, how dope they were. I knew what it is that, musically, what I was going to try to do and at least try to lean it towards. And then what they were doing and what they were bringing to the table and what we did together. I wasn't worried about nothing. I mean, and a lot of people was just like, oh, what about the look of the group or what about this? I was like you said, like usually it's 3 people or more. I was just like, I don't care. We're going to make some bangers and we kicking the door, and that's it.
They were neo soul before neo soul was popular.
Exactly.
The hair, the whole look, it really just, I was like, and their voice, it was, because we had a lot of the sort of similar, TLC, SWV, all sounding alike, but they came really, they really captured us. Yeah.
We came totally different. We came totally different. And a lot of people, even say that to me, and I let them say it. They like, hey, they, Kedar and these guys took the neo soul brand and ran with it and claimed that they're the starters of it. But you and Zhané are the originators of that sound.
Yeah.
I mean, because, it is what it is, but they took the moniker and did it. But definitely, as far as the sound and the way that approach, we definitely were the beginning of it. Definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I mean, Hey Mr. DJ was the big, massive track, but then they also had Send My Love. They had other tracks that would just really put you in the mood and stuff.
Sweet Taste of Love, All My Mind, like all kinds of records like that. They had that was the vibe, man. They had the vibe. I mean, dope.
Were they also writers as well?
Absolutely, they wrote everything.
Wow.
Yeah. They wrote everything. They wrote all of the lyrics. Both of them wrote all their lyrics, and you know, and some of the music. A lot of it they did. They did a lot of the music as well with me.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
so when you're working with them and about to put out, is Flavor Unit and Vinny and Treach, are they involved in anything, or they just say do your thing?
They just say do your thing, you know. And when it comes time, you know, when it came time for me to present it, then I would go to Jahiem and say, hey, I got this ready to go. Where can we put it at? Who can sign it? Who can we shop it to? How can we put it out?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jahiem will go to work and figure out how to get it out there.
Wow. And when did with the first single, was that Hey Mr. DJ?
Hey, Mr. DJ. And that actually came off the Flavor Unit compilation.
Oh, were
Yeah.
you surprised how big that also went? I mean,
No, I wasn't, because I knew how big it was going to be. And it wasn't actually going to even be on that compilation. It ended up being the last record on there. And that's why it's literally the last track on the soundtrack.
wow.
Like the whole soundtrack is rap. The whole Flavor Unit crew, it was all rap. And I just was like, Sha, yo, you got to put this record on there. I'm telling you, man, this record, man, I'm telling you, put this record on there. He's like, yeah, but it's all rap. I don't care. I'm telling you, put this record on there. Okay. And he put it on there, and that was it, you know.
Wow. What was the next? So when they were blowing up, what was on your mind as to who to bring out next?
I just going through demos, just figuring out I'll find something at some point, you know. I still had to focus on Naughty. I still had to focus on doing another Zhané record, you know. And once again, I mean, it's primarily just me. So I can't, you know, spread myself too thin.
Yeah.
You know, couldn't spread myself too thin at the time. But, you know, as we were going on, you know, just going on, and I'm just listening to stuff, listening to demos until I finally came across all the stuff later. And then I started putting that together as well and developing.
So when you sort of briefly separated from Naughty, was it to focus on the music and production? Were you finding a lot more joy in that part and reducing the touring?
Yeah, that's what it was. At the time, I had just basically had my third child. It was just like, it got to a point where I just was just questioning, like, yo, do I still want to be on the road? Do I really want to still keep doing this stuff? Actually, I didn't even have a third child yet. I didn't even have it, actually. Not even, no, I didn't. I didn't even have the third child yet. It just got to a point with me, man, where I don't know, it just felt like it was just a lot of stuff going on within the group. And I just was just like, man, I don't know if I even want to do this no more, man. I don't know. And it was just a lot of arguing and going bickering back and forth. I was just like, and I just said, man, you know what? I'm just done with it. I'm done with it. I'm gonna just go focus on producing. I'm gonna find me some groups, and I'm just gonna focus on them and just try to get me a deal.
Mm.
And I just stopped touring with Naughty by Nature. I left the group, and I just started. I put together Divine Mill, and I started, you know, developing Jahiem. I started developing Next, and I started developing Dugans and a Coffee Brown, a couple of different projects, and trying to find me a deal. And as I developed it, I got a presentation together. Went to Jahiem again and said, hey, I got a presentation. I got a presentation. Where can I go with it? How should I do it? And we connected dots, and we ended up going to Arista with it. So and that was the beginning of Divine Mill right there.
How did you come up with the name Divine Mill?
One of the rappers I had named Dugans. I was with him one day, and he was in a crew called I forgot that now. I mean, I drew blank. But anyway, yeah, but his crew, you know, they were like 5%ers and all this different stuff or whatever. So growing up, down south, my aunt used to work at this factory, and they called the factory the mill.
Okay.
And all the time, like we would spend time down there almost every summer as my father's sister and my aunt Dot, and we used to be down there in Chester, South Carolina, and every time we would just be like, "Hey, we want to do something, whatever." Well, you gotta wait for Dot to come. I mean, for our Dot to come from the mill. She's at the mill. They didn't even say work really. It was like she's at the mill. You gotta wait for her to come from the mill, and this and that. And oh well, when I come from the mill tomorrow, you guys could do this or wait or whatever, whatever. So it always stuck in my mind. The mill, the mill, the mill, and I'm just like, okay, the mill. So she worked at a factory. They called the factory the mill. So I got my studio in the house. At the time, I had a bunch of different producers and guys working with me. And I looked at it as a factory at that point because I was just like, yo, we just pumping out beats, we pumping out music, we pumping out this, and we want to be able to pump out a bunch of music. So it's going to be a factory, it's going to be a mill. Not a factory, but we're going to call it a mill because my aunt used to work at the mill and it was a factory. So then I asked Dugans, I said, I said, in your world and in your whole 5% nation or whatever, you guys are whatever, you know, and the group was called Now Justice too. Now I think I remember what it was. They were called Now Justice. So I said, and now in your Now Justice world, what is pure? He's like, what you mean? Like if something's pure, he was like, well, divine or like what do you mean? Like something that's more divine? Like when something's pure, you say it's more divine or whatever. I was like, okay, so that's it then. All right, divine. So I said divine mill.
Wow. Okay. And so you've got the name in your head. What was was there sort of a mission for Divine Mill? What were you thinking about would be the mission for the label?
Well, I mean, at the time, even before that, you know, with Illtown Records, the mission was always to try to build something up and build a legacy and build a label. So after, you know, me personally and after us, we would have a label to run. And I was looking at, and I tell him this all the time, I was looking at what Mike Bivens was doing with Biv 10.
Yeah.
So I was looking at Biv 10 and I was just like, wow, that's dope. You know, Biv really got it going on. Like, that's really dope. I like what he's doing. You know, spearheading the label, cheerleading it, you know, and basically running a label situation. You know, that's really dope. Mm-hmm. So I looked at what he was doing and I was just like, one day I gotta get my stuff together and I want to be like him and do like that. So it didn't happen and work with the Illtown situation. But once I got to Divine Mill, my goal was to try to do the exact same thing again, to say, okay, now maybe I can do what I was trying to do before, and follow in the footsteps of Biv. And at the time too, Bad Boy had already surfaced.
Oh yeah. So Def.
We had Death Bro, So Def, and all those guys already coming at that point. By then, I was just like, these guys are doing it, so why can't I?
Yeah. Were you able to take Zhané over to Divine Mill?
No, I wasn't able to take them. No, I stayed, you know, involved with them, but I wasn't able to switch them over to become a technical Divine Mill artist.
Okay. And who did you find first? Was it Next? Was it Jahiem or?
I actually had Jahiem first.
Wow.
Yes,
he came out last.
And he came out last, yes. And to this day, he'll tell you he's pissed off about that. Yeah.
I think he came out at the right time though, but
he did, but he'll tell you to this day he's pissed off, yo, that, you know, I was the first one there and I came out last.
Yeah, but so because I think when he came out, this is when sort of Neo Soul and Maxwell, you know, D'Angelo, and it just fits. We could just appreciate him. But what was it about him that you saw that you thought, wow, this is gold?
Oh no! When I first heard his demo came actually to the Naughty Gear store, and that's how long Jahiem was sitting around and waiting.
Wow!
You know, I was still in Naughty when I had Jaheem's demo. Yeah, his demo came into the Naughty store. We had a store down in and I think the store opened in like '94 or something like that. So
wow.
Jaheem's demo might have came down there around '95.
Wow!
So yeah, it was sitting in there for a minute, and when it came time for it, I just was like, I remember this guy. Let me find that tape of this guy. And I remember his tape. It said Jahiem Hoagland, 17-year old Jahiem Hoagland. That's what it said.
He put his
And
age on it.
yeah, and on the tape, he was doing karaoke of Luther's "Never Too Much." He didn't even have songs. He was just doing karaoke.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when it came time, I was just like, dang, this guy sounds just like Luther Vandross.
Hmm.
And a lot of people say, no, he sounds more like Teddy Pendergrass, but he was singing Luther Vandross. And that's, that's always, yeah. So he has a little bit of both of them in him, but he was singing Luther Vandross on his cassette tape that I had on his demo. And when I finally met him and saw how thugged out he was, he looked like a rapper.
Yeah,
he looked like a rapper.
Did he have the cornrows then? Or did he have his cornrows? And did he have his hair braided?
Nah, I don't even think. Nah, I'm not sure. Okay. I don't think so. He might have did though. Then again, I think he did. But I know he was thugged out. I don't care. I mean, he was still thugged out, and I just was like, wow, this guy's thugged out, yo. But as soon as he opened his mouth, he sounds like Luther.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so when you think of Luther, you think of party records. You think of, relationship, more mellow, more chilled out. So if I get a thugged out Luther, it'll be a whole different approach.
Yeah,
so I just started thinking like that.
Wow.
So I started thinking like that. So I'm gonna do the same feel and the same style and make you feel like the Luther records, but the appeal and the approach and the visual of how you see him and the way he come across gonna be thugged out. And he's gonna appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so I had that in my mind with him from the gate. And I started working on him. And then when I started putting it together, here came Next.
Oh, so you put him on hold?
I put him on hold because Next was more developed.
Ah.
He was, like I said, he looked like a rapper. He was rough around the edges. Everything was raw. He would show up here sometimes and sometimes he wouldn't show up. He'd be missing sometimes and this and that, but he was there primarily. And but Next just showed up. And not only did, Next show up prepared, they also had Lance and Prof with them when I got their demo. And Lance and Prof is from the group Low Key.
Okay.
That was signed to Jimmy and Terry and over there at
Flight Time.
Yeah. So they were from the group Low Key. So they were already more polished and together. So that pushed them to the top because not only did they have Lance and Prof, now once I came in, they had both of us together, where Jahiem only had me and my crew really focusing on it. So Next had their routines together. They had their imaging together. It was a lot of stuff. We just had to fine tune some things, but they came in with their stuff more together. So when I presented, and then on top of that, the icing on the cake, to really be honest, when it came down to Next even leapfrogging Jahiem, was the showcase. When we did the showcase at Arista for Clive, Next came across more polished to Clive than Jahiem. And Jahiem got turned down by Clive, and that's why Next came out before Jahiem.
Okay, because you went to the Godfather, Clive Davis.
Yeah, and that's who did my deal with me for Divine Mill.
Wow.
And Jahiem had to wait. And Jahiem ended up being picked up by Warner Brothers.
Okay, that's why I knew he was on a different label. Okay.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, more than anything, that's the reason why Jahiem actually ended up coming out after Next.
Okay. But then you come out with Next, and you're in the mix of all the R&B groups, the male groups fighting for attention, but you guys just blow up, and because it was not easy, because you talk about Low Key, Solo, lots of ones didn't really make it. I mean, that we had one or two hits, but to come out like that, was it Clive and Arista pushing it, or was it? Well, what do you think made Next stand out in that first album?
I think it was both. Obviously, Arista is a powerhouse,
Yeah, with Clive.
I
Yeah,
mean, they had everything with Clive over there. They had, like I said, they had LaFace Records over there at the time.
yeah,
So they
yeah,
had
yeah. That Bad Boy. Yeah, they.
Outcasts and all that stuff. They had Bad Boy over there. So whatever they was taking the radio was working. All we
Yeah,
had to do was come with some good records and it was gonna be out of here. So we came with Butter Love first, which was a good record, and it was
yeah.
out of here. And then we came with the Monster Too Close after that, and we were really
Yeah.
yeah. So
Who did you guys all? Do you look for artists who could write, and not rely on you to, and you can just then come
exactly.
into music? Okay.
That was yeah, and that was one of the the main things about Next as well. Like I said, they came with a crew and they were doing stuff already themselves. Not only was Lance and Prof writing for them, but RL was also a writer. So you also had that and within that. Jahiem wasn't a writer in his early stages. So
Wow.
he had to wait, yeah, he had to rely on me and us to find writers and people to put the stuff together where they were ready to go. Same with Zhané, ready to go because everything was done internally.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense because it's a lot of work to have to get the material to write and test it out. But
Right.
if they know what their direction and stuff,
Yeah.
okay. So then, from your point of view, they're signed to your label. How do you then? What, are you then responsible really get the music and then leave it to Arista to do all the promotion and stuff, or do you
Yeah.
get involved in, or how
Nah.
do you? Where did you stop?
Well, no, like at that point, I mean, John A was on Motown. Motown was doing a thing with everything. Gerald Busby was over there. Like, I mean, I'm not in marketing. I don't work in marketing, so I don't have too much to say about that. It's like I do my thing. I make records. So I make
Yeah,
records. I just try to make sure I'm with the right partner. And once I give it to you, I know that I hand it off to you, and you running it for a touchdown. That's it. You know. So that's really was my mentality with everything.
and maybe that's probably why, as I said, we could appreciate the records that you came out with because a lot of others were getting involved with the marketing and the promotion and the imaging, doing directing videos, and the quality of the music wasn't always consistent. And that's why there was a sense of you could hear a KG track across your artist, but it was really quality. And I guess because, as you said, you weren't doing the video, you weren't directing videos, you weren't going out there
Yeah.
doing styling,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It wasn't about, I wasn't trying to be in videos. I wasn't trying to, I mean, I would be in it here and there just to, present an artist or whatever. But overall, I wasn't trying to be an artist. I had just left a group, my own group,
yeah,
I was trying to take a back seat. I was trying to take a back seat and trying to be behind the scenes. And I did it on purpose. That's what I was trying to do,
yeah,
you know. So I just was just like, yo, no, it's not about me. It's about you guys. It's about you.
yeah. What surprised you more, the success of OPP or the success of Divine Mill coming off the bat with John? Well, I know John A was not part of Divine Mill, but you being the music producer, sort of executive. Which of them, the success of Next and Jahiem, did that surprise you more than OPP, or was OPP more of a
OPP, definitely.
okay?
Hands down, OPP more, because it was the beginning. It was, it gave me the confidence. It kicked the door in and let me know, what you're doing works.
Yeah,
People out here gonna feel what it is you're doing. And from that point on, I just was like, I felt like I understood what it was to make something, and I understood how to groove the grooves that people wanted to hear.
yeah,
And especially, once I got with Zhané and once we did the Zhané project, from there on out, I really was just like, you know what? I know what I can do. I got a
yeah,
niche. I got a spot that nobody's in. And no, and there's people who's done it before, but I'm gonna, I feel like that I'm gonna combine my hip hop ear along with my R&B ear, but at the same time, coming up in Jersey, Jersey was a big club playing like spot. They would play a
yeah,
lot of dance club music.
Yeah.
like house music and all that. So I was just always just like, I'm gonna combine all three of them and basically think of as a DJ, and I'm gonna blend all of those elements all together and just make my barbecue feel good records. And I'm gonna
Wow.
do something that people struggle with doing.
Yeah. Did you think, I mean, looking back, because I'm sure a lot of people when this goes out would say, oh, KG, very underrated. We didn't really give him the props. Because I don't think because you weren't very public, you had Puffy, we had Jermaine Dupri, we had Dallas, we had even Tim and Bob you'd hear their names when they're doing a Bobby V stuff. So a lot of the Timbaland, so a lot of the producers back then would be very much present, so we know it's theirs. But with your stuff, I mean, only hardcore R&B fans would know this is a KG production, and know about your label because you, as I said, you weren't putting yourself out there. How was that for you? Did you feel as if maybe I should, get more in the public eye, or were you just happy being back and saying, I don't need to get extra props?
Yeah, I was just happy because I mean, like I said, I had just left a group. So my whole thing was to lead the group, to step to the back, and to honestly, I guess, look at it like to fade away into behind the scenes, to fade away behind the scenes. So that was my plan of it anyway. So no, I mean, now that you look at it with the social media and all that stuff going on, I look at it and say, well, maybe, there's more stuff that maybe I should have done, that would, be relevant to social media now or different things. So then a lot of people will probably be looking at me totally different, but it's all good, man. I mean, I don't regret anything. I mean, it's more my character, it's my personality. It reflects that way, and it's all good. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I have my publishing. People know, the right people know who it is. I mean, people know that I've done certain records. Some people know, and some people don't. And one day, whoever wants to know, they'll find out, and then they'll be shocked. So it's a great thing too to say that as every day go on, I can find new fans to be like, oh wow, I didn't know you did that, Kay. Oh, I didn't know you did that. Yeah. I didn't know you did that. So it's all good. It's all good, and I'm continuing to develop product and artists as well to this day. So it's to each his own, man. Like, yeah. And I ain't mad at the guys that were in the front, or did all of that and who stuck their names out in front and all that. I ain't mad at them either. I mean, that's great. It's all good, man. To each his own, man. That's what they wanted to do. They approached it totally different, and they benefited off of it, and that's fine. And that's fine and good too, as well. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, a lot of us would wonder. Coffee Brown came out with After Party, and they had the album. Is it Mars and Venus? Is it? But they had the one or two big hits. But what changed? What do you think changed they didn't really take off like the other groups?
And that pissed me off too, as well, because I felt like that album was so dope.
Yeah, I had the album.
The album is very dope. I mean, and hey, I mean, I feel like that. Everybody I talk to, everybody always say, yo, I don't know what happened, but that Coffee Brown project was so dope. And even with the concept of what it was, because I even started that whole Coffee Brown, thing off as a concept before I even found the members of it.
Oh.
Yeah, when I originally did the showcase with Clive, it was Jahiem next. And basically the concept of Coffee Brown. Okay. And he bought into it. And once I found the members of Coffee Brown, because I basically just had a stand in, one of my writers stand in, and and go in there and say, okay, we're gonna just do Coffee Brown. It's gonna be a guy and a girl. And he was just like, okay, I like the concept. I don't like the members. Let's figure the members out. But I like the concept of it. And I felt like the concept of a male and a female together doing the stuff would be dope. So it all came down to me finding the right members, and they didn't click. The two, Fonz and Vanell, didn't click with each other, and the group basically broke up before the project even came out. So Arista couldn't go but so far with it, and that's why they just dropped the ball. I understand, but it just hurts that because I know the product was so dope, you know.
Oh goodness, yeah, that's because I think we were warm to it, and Don't Stop it was just a feel good stuff, but I guess sooner or later, if the members aren't on the right page, radio and promotions, everyone would find out, and it would just the bad ill will just sort of spill through. Okay,
and that's what happened. You know, it was a behind the scenes thing. You know, we couldn't get it going from the gate. You know, it just wasn't right. You know.
wow.
I thought it was good too. It was definitely two good members. It's just that the two members didn't click and they couldn't get along and it didn't work. So it just didn't work. The concept was there, the records was there. I just didn't, you know, and even the talent from the members individually was there, but it just didn't pull together. The chemistry just wasn't there. It fell apart before we can even get it going.
Wow. Yeah. What could have happened? I think. Yeah, I mean, as I said, that's always it was always an album that I'd really admired, and it was hard because Angela and Renee, we hadn't, or Ashford Simpson, we hadn't had that for a long time. So to have it in the '90s, it was, you know, I mean, we had Fugees, and we had was Groove Theory, but they just had the one album and disappeared. But so it was good to see. Okay, we've got something here, but unfortunately, as you said, it didn't last. But then the Jahiem stuff. So when you came out with his first album, he didn't have. Was he now at a position where he could help write, or was it still mainly relying on yourself and?
Well, actually, you know what? You know, you spoke of Eric Williams from Blackstreet.
Eric. Eric.
Eric wrote a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay. With West.
Eric and West. Eric was a part of my team, so Eric wrote a lot of it, along with Darren and Cliff Lighty, Balewa Muhammad, Balewa. Like you said, Eric and West, Jahiem himself as well, me. We all were in there together, just putting it together. We beat it. I was part of my team. Eric and West. Eric was one of my guys that was there with me like every day. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, Eric's a Jersey guy. He's a Jersey guy.
As I said, he's when Blackstreet came to London, we hung out and you know, did an interview with him. So good friend. But Jahiem, as I said, even to today, everyone would rate Jahiem. You know, his voice, his style.
Yeah.
When you were ready to put out his album, Clive still wasn't ready to go sign off the deal.
No, he had already passed on it. So once he passed on it with the showcase, I just started shopping him elsewhere. And the first place we took him to was Warner Brothers, and Denise Brown signed him over at Warner Brothers. Soon she heard it, she fell in love with him. I brought him in there, he sung in there. She was just like, "Oh my God, sign him up. Do not let them leave this building. Sign him up."
Okay.
And then from that point, you know, we had a home, and it was just about finishing up the project. That was it.
I can still see his first video. He walks out, and there's an old track. What's the sample, that old track that comes out?
Could It Be?
Could it be?
Yeah.
And
it was like I wasn't actually in that video. It was like he worked at like a garage.
Yeah, garage.
He worked at a car garage. He worked at a car garage, and he was supposed to take the car to get fixed or whatever, and end up joyriding with the car instead. And people thought that it was his car, and then he comes back and bring the car back, and he was actually just out. And I'm standing there like, "Yo, what are you doing? What were you doing?" My car?
Because he comes out, and we think, okay, here he is. He's gonna come and rap to us like DMX, and he starts to sing. And as I said, it's I think for guys too, because you know, we had Joe, but a lot of the guys were singing to the ladies, and so the ladies, you know, apart from R. Kelly, lots of the guys were singing to the ladies. But Jahiem was like, "Wow, this is, this thugged out guy singing this smooth and stuff, and so you
Right. And then you see him riding around in his Bentley and you think,
yeah,
oh, he's flossing. And then come to find out, oh, he just works there. Yeah, that
yeah,
ain't his car. He's fronting. Like, that's the ultimate thug, too. Like,
yeah.
he just
But
took somebody's car and just flossing with it. Like,
yeah, it's I mean, it's a good video concept, but the video can take you only so far if the music wasn't. I mean, did you guys
oh,
was
yeah,
there hard work on that album just to get the right
yeah. Nah.
music?
Yeah, I mean, no, because actually at that time we worked every day. We were in such a groove, man. Like I said, we had Eric, we had great people in there, writers, man. We had Eric in there, like I said, Cliff, Balewa, Aritza was in there. RL, RL
Okay,
was there. Yup, Find Some Coffee Brown. Man, we had so many people. Teron Bill was there. Like Gordon Chambers was there. Like I had so many people in there writing, man. It was just, I would just be like, hey, here's the beats. Like, let's just see who got the best stuff and let's just go.
wow,
And some
wow,
people didn't like that way, but I did. It was just competition and everybody, we were just all in there just to get stuff done. So when it came time to make records, it was nothing. I was just like, yo, if we come with a dope beat, I know that the guy's gonna ice it off. So we just did it. It was just all about just who we would give the records to at that point. That was it. You know, just even like if you think of Just in Case. Just in Case was a
are
Coffee Brown record.
you
Yeah,
kidding me?
that was a Coffee Brown record. And it was a ballad.
Wow,
Yeah, that was a Coffee Brown ballad.
that's
Yeah.
probably
And then
it
once,
was that his biggest track? Because probably the most
yeah,
popular one.
yeah, probably. Yep. Definitely. Probably his biggest one. Yeah. But it was a ballad. It was a ballad. And when we originally did it, it was a Coffee Brown ballad. And I forgot why we ended up. I think it ended up that I think Clive didn't like it on Coffee Brown as a ballad. So then I ended up switching it around and not go on Coffee Brown's record. I made it up tempo to what it was and presented it again to Clive for Babyface though. Yeah, tried to sell it to them for Babyface, and they were just like, nah. So then I just was like, you know what, Jahiem, let's just cut this record, man. I know this record's dope. So what I did was, like I said, it was a ballad, because that's all Just in Case is a ballad. It's double time. It's a ballad singing over a fast beat. That's really, it's a 50 BPM song that I double time to 100. Yeah. So all of the, you think about the tempo of these records, there's club records, they like, especially like in the 90s, this stuff was, the groove stuff was around 100, 102. So if you take a ballad at 50 or 51 and double it up, you got 102, and then you just take and change the groove around. And that's what I did with it. Like I said, like going back to my DJ and club
Yeah,
stuff, what I
yeah.
did. That's how it was. But it was the same song, just done in a different manner.
And you can hear some elements of Too Close and some elements of some influences from like what you did for Next, that type of
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's just coming from the same crew.
yeah,
Coming
yeah,
from the same crew. So yeah, you're gonna absolutely hear, pieces or influences of stuff and be like, okay, this sounds familiar. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Same guy did all of those records. Yeah.
was RL singing back on that?
The original demo, he's singing the whole demo, but nah, not the one that came out.
Oh, just okay. Without yeah,
He's singing. He's singing. Well, actually, the whole group Next is singing backgrounds on anything,
okay.
because that was the original Next record as well too. Anything was well, yeah, that was a Next record. And when I switched it over and gave it to Jahiem, because at that time, once Jahiem got his deal, it was all about, okay, guys, let's all focus on Jahiem. Let's get Jahiem stuff done now. It's time for him to go. Because at that point, Jahiem was complaining. He's like, I've been here first. When am I coming out? And then like, okay, now we got your deal. Let's go. So we started
Yeah,
focusing on him. So we started taking records that we might have had for other people and other groups and other situations, and just started flipping them into Jahiem records.
yeah. As I said, he still stands the test of time, and it was great to see him recently feature with
The
AZ.
AZ. Yeah,
Um,
the AZ record, yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah,
a lot of
I'm
us miss him.
telling Jahiem even now. I'm telling him now, man. Like I have records that I've cut on Jahiem, like really good records that I know that will come out now and be dope. But you know, it's just on Jahiem, man. Like just I'm just waiting on him to say I'm ready to go and do this again, man. I'm just waiting on him, really.
Yeah, because we heard him say he's quit the industry. This was about a couple of years ago. Um,
Yeah.
then I heard he said he'd changed his mind. But what's as is he still
I don't know. I don't
okay?
know. Same thing. I don't know. I don't know what Jaheim's doing. I don't know what he's doing. I'm baffled by it too, to be honest. Like I said, I got records on him and stuff that I know is dope, but I'm just waiting for Jaheim to be ready to do what he got to do, and that's it. You know, I don't know.
At this
I
stage, is
really,
he still signed to Divine Mail or and Warner
no,
Brothers, or is he
he's not.
independent?
He's been off of Divine Mill, and he's been off of Warner Brothers for years now.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on when he had moved over to Atlantic. Even when I did Ain't Leaving Without You, the record, the Ain't Leaving Without You record with him. The Hey, how you doing, baby?
Yeah.
When I did that record for him, he wasn't signed to me.
Wow.
I allowed him to move over to Atlantic at that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about next? When did you? Are they still with Divine Mail, or did they say you?
Everybody's still associated with me, but none of them are signed to me. You know, Next move away from me when Arista broke up with Clive, and then Next moved. Yeah, when Arista broke up and all of that stuff, RL did his solo project,
Okay.
and yeah, he did a solo project. And in the midst of that, when LA took over Arista and all that stuff, that's when Next we dissolved all of that stuff. But
Wow.
they you know they're still my people. Like
Yeah.
I got a project with Next right now that's done.
Wow. And
Yeah,
and I think
I have a Naughty Next project, a project with Naughty and Next together.
see, and I think that's probably why when we went back to what you learned from Flavor Unit, that sense of because other people would very much be like, no, well, I'm going to tie you down to a 7 album deal, and
Nah, I'm not in that business, man. I'm not in that business for real, to be
yeah,
honest, because I feel like you said, it goes back to Flavor Unit. Nobody did that to me. Nobody
yeah,
tied me down. I ain't in the business of tying nobody else down. I only could do, you know, what others did to me, you know. So nobody did that to me. So I ain't doing that to nobody. Like if it don't work, well, let's just move on. Because I don't even want you wasting my time, and I don't want to waste your time
yeah,
if we can't work together.
yeah. I did see that you guys were back on tour with Naughty. When did you come back to the guys? Because I
I've been
saw,
back with Naughty.
I
Yeah, I
think
came
I
back
saw
with
you.
Naughty. Yeah, I've been back with Naughty. I came back with Naughty, I don't know, maybe 2010,
Okay.
or maybe even before that. Maybe before that, I forgot. But I think it was something like that. Yeah, but I've been back with Naughty for a while.
Yeah, no, but I think this is recent. I think you did an NFL
Yeah, we did the
half.
halftime. We did the halftime of the Arizona Minnesota Vikings game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to yeah. So I just saw it recently, but what's happened? Because I know you guys were all doing different things, but have you come back to start making music and going touring again, or
Not yet, not yet. But we're talking about it and we're trying to figure it out now, you know. But you know, we do stuff here and there together still. You know, some engagements and some big stuff that we still do, and stuff that we have to do or whatever. But as far as music and all that stuff, you know, we're trying to figure it out, and we're talking about potentially maybe diving back in fully. But at this point, it's not at that point. It's not at that point. I mean, which we should have done, but you know, it's whatever it is at this point, man. To be honest, I mean, it's 30, and this was a great opportunity for it because we actually had started, and it's another thing too. I have records done on that as well. We did start on some stuff, and every time we start on it, we get halted somehow or whatever. But we got to work some kinks out because we came out in '91. It's 2021 now. This is our 30th
ah,
anniversary. Yeah, it's our 30th anniversary. This year's our 30th anniversary. And that's what we were actually working on, our 30th anniversary album. And they got halted, you know, for, you know, group personal issues and stuff or whatever. But like I said, we'll, you know, we're grown, man. We'll figure it out. We'll work it out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully we'll get it. We'll get it worked out, and the material will see a light of day soon.
What about next? You said you're working on a joint project with Naughty and Next, or is it something separately with Next?
No, both. I have a project with Next, and I have a Naughty Next project. That's what I'm saying. Like I have stuff we've been working on. You know, we just got to get if we can work everything out and figure it out, and everybody get on the same page, then we'll put it out. If not, then I'll figure out different ways. Like I said, I mean, there were songs that were certain people's before, and I took them and moved them to somebody else. So you might
Yeah.
hear those records on somebody else, but I do have bangers in the cut that is done.
I guess finally, because you've really, it's been great listening to you and stuff. When it comes to the way the industry is now, streaming, and you know, we can listen to music almost freely anyhow. When you put out records now, what is it the purpose to make money, or is it just to get music out there? What is, from your point of view, if you start putting out music with Naughty or Next or anyone, what would be the main purpose?
You said if I put out music now, what would be the main purpose?
Yeah, so suppose, yeah, would it just be more of like a way of promoting the fact that you guys are around, we're going on tour, or are you looking to get a billion streams to make money from it? What would be doing, because it's different now, yeah.
Like you said, it will be more about touring, man. It'll be putting out a project so we can tour and do stuff together. That's what it'll be more about. It ain't about trying to get a billion streams and do all of that craziness, you know, because I know that, you know, that's not, you know, realistic, to be honest. It's not realistic. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's about us building out, you know, put out dope music,
Yeah.
continue our legacy and represent our legacy, but at the same time to go out there and you know, do a Naughty Next tour. That's what I want to do.
Well,
to be
that
honest,
would be, yeah, that would be awesome. That would
yeah.
be, and
One big show, not nobody opening up, us all intertwined, back and forth, put hit, Naughty and Next together.
so what would you, so as we finish, what can we expect? Because we saw you do stuff with AZ and Jahiem. Any other productions that you know is coming so that people can, you know, keep an eye out and listen to?
Well, me and Vin has formed a group along with a DJ. We got a DJ production / hype crew called Illtown Sluggers.
Okay.
Yeah, so we rock parties and do all of that stuff and produce records. So we got a project that's coming out. We got multiple projects with multiple people. I have another one with a Latin DJ named Cruz. We got a Illtown Slugger and Cruz project that's gonna be Latin led and influenced. So I got that project coming. We got an Illtown Sluggers project itself coming. We what else we got? And then also developing slugger artists as well. We got a girl named Nicole Michelle, a little young pop artist we're developing, a young R&B artist named Indigo Blue, developing her. Ryan Lane, another R&B guy, developing him.
Wow.
We got KO, yeah, Loud Jackson, developing him as well. And then I have an Afrobeats artist guy named Fresco Def. So there's multiple things and multiple artists that we're doing and we're putting together. So be on the lookout. It's like really good music and really good stuff. And it's another chapter. Once again, you know, like how I did with Divine Mill. It's the same thing, just, you know, building another avenue, building another way to allow these young, fresh talent to come through and flourish with me at the helm and trying to steer them in the right direction in the right way. So be on the lookout.
Well, I have to appreciate the time you've spent. So you're back to Illtown Records and no longer Divine Mill, or is other?
No, it's Slugger Music.
Slugger Music.
But the group of DJs and producers, that group is called Illtown Sluggers.
But do you have, as you and Vinny have a label that you're running together?
Yeah, and it's called Slugger Music.
Slugger Music, okay.
Slugger music, yup. And Slugger is a bear that's in Illtown Slugger.
I saw the bear. I thought it was a mascot or so. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. No, he's not a mascot. He's actually a DJ and a producer. That's one of my producers.
Oh, I see. I
That's
saw the.
his name is Slugger, yup. And he's part of Illtown Sluggers.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
When all my guests, I always ask them if you were stuck in an elevator and they said, look, it will take a couple of hours to get you out, and we can play a movie for you to watch. What movie would you request to watch?
Wild Style.
Wild Style. Oh, it's okay. Going back to the old days. Okay.
Yep. Wild Style. And if Ian is still long, now play me Beat Street.
Oh, Beat Street. Okay. Beat Street. Okay.
Yep.
And then finally, they're about to put on the movie. They said, look, we'll play a song before the movie starts. What record would you request to listen to?
Maybe Lovely Day.
Lovely Day. Okay. Who's by who did that?
Who you talking about? Bill Withers, Lovely Day.
Oh, okay, Bill Withers, Lovely Day. Okay. Wow. Okay.
If not that, then never too much by Luther. But I'll probably say Lovely Day.
Okay. Well, KG, I have to appreciate the time you've walked us through amazing history. I have to appreciate the music that you came out with. Next, Jahiem, Coffee Brown, even though that didn't go through. Zhané, that's it, you really contributed to the 90s. And I think what DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic really reinvigorated a lot of us to 90s music, and we kind of miss that type of soul. And when I listened to AZ with Jahiem, I was like, wow, we're almost getting that sense of classic. But
it's coming. Trust me, it's coming. Because I got it. I got some stuff. Not only on Jahiem, but I have some stuff in the cut. So that sound is coming back. It's coming. I'm gonna make it come back.
As soon as you have anything to promote, just give us that. I'll be following and watching and getting the word out there. But this will go out next week, and I have to appreciate you for all what you've done. Similar to Eddie F, you guys are very quiet, but you
man too.
Yeah,
that's my man too. Eddie F's my man. We did a lot of work during my meal time and all of that. We did a lot of work together. I used the studio a lot of different things. That's my man. That's my man. Eddie F's my boy, for real.
Yeah.
Definitely. Much love to Eddie F.
Yeah, he is.
A dope dude,
Yeah, and that's the thing about the two of you. You're very, quiet in personality, but loud in music. I mean, the music you guys came out with really hit. But I want to make sure a lot of people remember Coffee Brown, all the stuff you did. Jahiem's probably, as I said, we do polls, and Jahiem and Maxwell are constantly battling as to who people think was their main guy, just because they were different from Joe and all the others at that time, and they just knew a soul and stuff, and so we just appreciate the music and the consistency and stuff, and we look forward to hopefully Naughty coming out with the music when everything works out next, Jahiem and of course Sluggers as well.
Absolutely, yep. And appreciate it. Thank you guys over there, especially England, man. Because I remember even when we came out with Jahiem, that Jahiem broke in England before he even broke here.
Wow.
Yep, he was huge, and he broke over in England first. I don't know if you know a guy named Jigs over there.
Yes. I know not personally, but one of the main radio DJs and stuff.
Yes, shout to Jigs. Yep. Jigs is a good friend of mine. Yep, and always been since back in the days, man. So yeah, Jahiem broke in London, in England, period. Just from before he even broke here, and so definitely shout to you guys over there. You always showed me love, showed Jahiem love, and always appreciate everything I've done. I appreciate you guys. Shout out, definitely.
Yeah, but I thank you for the time. You've really given us a massive history lesson and stuff. But I'll be in touch. I'll let you know when it goes out. And thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.
I begin to